is the disappearance day of Jiva Goswami and Jagadhi Spanda. And so we're going to speak a little bit about Jagadhi Spanda, but mostly about Srila Jiva Goswami, who is one of the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. So as Prabhupada instructed us, whenever we have a disappearance day of any great personality, we chant this prayer, Saparshada Gora Viraha Vilapa, which is the prayers of the departed Vaishnavas. Yeyanilo Premadana Konana Prachur. I think that's how you mostly know it. Okay. And so we will start. Jai Anilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Premadana Koruna Prachur Hey no Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Hey no Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Santashi Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Charana the Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrindavan Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Jai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadhi Sami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Srimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Om. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharani, Nirvashesha, Shunyavadi Paschatya Tejatarni. So let me read the translation to this poem by Narottama Das Thakur about the departed Vaishnavas. Translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where am I, Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Raghunath? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where am I, Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? Where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head and enter the rock my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. So, as we mentioned, today is the disappearance day of Jiva Goswami and Jagadhi Spanda, so we're going to speak a little bit about Jiva Goswami. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So, of course, as we know, Srila Jiva Goswami is the youngest of all the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. He's the junior. So, of course, he is also known as the most erudite scholar, basically of all time, except for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are Sanskrit universities such as Benares, that are named after Jiva Goswami, and his Sandarbhas form the very philosophical basis for our understanding of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Are you ready? You don't know what that means? Sambandha means to know who Krishna is, to know who we are, to know what the material energy is, to know what the spiritual energy is, and to know the relationships between all those tattvas, or these different aspects of the Lord and the Lord himself, to know the Lord too. So that's Sambandha. Abhideya means basically what do you do about it? The performance of devotional service, which is basically sadhana bhakti. And then prayojana, that is the goal. Going back to home, back to Godhead, pure devotional service. So, Srila Jiva Goswami laid the whole groundwork, philosophical groundwork, for these particular understandings. Of course, amongst the Six Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sanatana Goswami's original work, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, elaborates in story form on these three aspects. But Jiva Goswami writes these things down, following in the footsteps of Sanatana and Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami was his guru, Shiksha Guru, of course. Following in the footsteps of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, he writes these things down in a very precise philosophical form. And Sanatana Goswami elaborates on them in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita in terms of a story. But Sanatana Goswami's understanding the philosophy, as was taught to him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's not that Sanatana Goswami is originating the philosophy. It's originated by the Lord himself, Dharmam Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, which is where Dharma comes from. So anyway, Jiva Goswami is renowned for that. So if someone really wants to understand Vaishnava philosophy, they will study the Sandarbhas of Srila Jiva Goswami. And ISKCON has actually published all of them. BBT has published one of the Sandarbhas, and that's called the Tattva Sandarbha. Tattva Sandarbha deals with what we call epistemology. Wow, that's a big term. Which means, how do you know what you know? In other words, how do you know what's true? How do you know what's not true? And in the Sandarbhas, Srila Jiva Goswami, Tattva Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami establishes that the Bhagavatam is the ultimate source of knowing what we know in Krishna consciousness. You understand? So then he goes on the other Sandarbhas to talk about Abhideya and Prayojana, Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. So anyway, the other Sandarbhas are actually been published by my godbrother Banu Maharaj. Banu Maharaj, everyone's heard of Banu Maharaj? Yeah. He's very expert. He's a super genius. He's published so many books of the Goswamis that practically you don't even have record of. If you look on his website, you'll see, it looks like hundreds, it may not be hundreds of books. And
the nectar of devotion are very popular.
Yeah, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Yeah.
So, and I have all of his books with me on my computer, which he shared with me, but you have to pay for them. So anyway, that's Jiva Goswami. So it's really important. Jai Shri Shri Radhakanta. Radhakanta Ki Jai. So we are indebted to Jiva Goswami. In addition, before I start talking about his biography, he is responsible in working with Raghunath Das Goswami for the establishment of the Radhakund area. Because Raghunath Das Goswami, being extremely renounced and not even wanting to build a bhajan kutir, which he eventually built because Sanatana Goswami insisted. I'm not going to tell that story here. It was a beautiful story. Did not want to really directly manage the money or take legal responsibility for what was going on at Radhakund, to excavate Radhakund. And you all know the story how that very rich man who was in Badrinath, you know the story? In Badrinath, he was told to give all this money to Jiva Goswami to develop Radha Kund. Not Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami to develop Radha Kund. And Raghunath Das Goswami didn't want to touch a penny of that money, even to manage the money, because he had come from a very wealthy family, a multi-billionaire family at that particular time. So he gave Srila Jiva Goswami the responsibility for direct financial management, and also the deeds of the properties at Radhakund were under the name of Srila Jiva Goswami, or in care of Srila Jiva Goswami. So he performed a lot of those activities, being the youngest of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. So here's a little bit about him personally. He, or his ontological position, that means who he was in Krishna Loka, in Krishna's pastimes, was Vilas Manjari. So when he was born, he had a golden complexion and all the signs of a mahapurush. A mahapurush means a great personality, and there's many physical signs a mahapurush will have, such as his arms go down to his knees when he's standing up. When I'm sitting down, my arms go to my knees, but when I'm standing up, they don't. So you know I'm not a mahapurush. And eyes like what? Lotus petals. They practically go out to the ears. I do not see anyone here with eyes like lotus petals. Most of you have like round, beady eyes, like Drew. Round, beady eyes. So he had all the proportions in the body, different proportions, the height, the weight, everything. And his mother could see this. And he was born in Ramakeli, which is where Rupa and Sanatana and his brother Anupama were living. He got the fortune when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Ramakeli. That was the time when Lord Chaitanya initiated these three brothers, Anupama, Rupa, and Sanatana. Of course, Rupa and Sanatana were called Dabir Kas and Shakara Malik before. You know that? Anyway, that's their nectar of devotion. So he initiated them at that particular time. He got a chance to have a darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was a little baby, because he was a nephew of Rupa and Sanatana, and of course the son of his father, Anupama. So Anupama, his father, along with his two uncles, Rupa and Sanatana, left to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, Rupa Goswami was able to leave very easily. He was under the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, as was Sanatana Goswami, but Sanatana Goswami had to escape from prison in order to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Rupa and Sanatana left, then Anupama, who was Jiva Goswami's father, had to leave also. He left with them, and Jiva Goswami's father passed away while he was with Rupa and Sanatana. So he was taken care of by his mother and also other family members. And when he was young, he had these Radha Krishna deities which he worshipped. And he had these dreams of dancing with Gaur Nitai. Continually he would feel separation from his father and his uncles. Very, very close family. So eventually when he grew up, he got permission to go to Navadvip and to see Lord Nityananda. And he met Lord Nityananda at Srivas Thakur's house. Next day, he went and he was fed prasadam by Sachi Mata and given a whole tour, the Navadvip Mandal Parikrama, by Lord Nityananda. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? And who is a better tour guide than Lord Nityananda? So he went all around Navadvip, saw Navadvip Mandal Parikrama. And then Lord Nityananda, instead of keeping him there, did something very, very interesting. He sent him to Kashi. Now, Kashi is not a place for Vaishnavas, right? It's, it's a place for Lord Shiva. Yeah, Shiva. oh my God, and also Mayavadis and everybody else running around there. But there was one person there who was very important, and his name was Madhusudana Vachaspati. And this Madhusudana Vachaspati was a disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And so Jiva Goswami, he wasn't Goswami then, but Jiva, was instructed to study Sanskrit from this great Pandit there. Because Lord Nityananda, who was non-different from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understood the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and understood Jiva Goswami's important part that he would play in our Vaishnava literature. So he understood, now it's time to get him educated expertly in Sanskrit. Very important. So it's not that a devotee just sits back and says, if I have to know Sanskrit, if I have to know this, I have to know that, Krishna will give me the intelligence. Because Krishna gives you the intelligence on how to acquire the knowledge, you still have to go to school. Interesting, isn't it? Most devotees will say, well, I just have to chant Hare Krishna and everything will be all right. It's not like that. There's 5 factors of action according to Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is one of them. You're in control of the other 4. So he studied with Madhusudana Vachaspati, and then he went to Vrindavan to be with Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And so he was given the deity at that time, this is interesting, of Radha Damodar, which is Jiva Goswami's deity. And so the deity was actually fashioned, this is an interesting story, by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami actually arranged for the deity to be carved. So Radha Damodar deities were actually specifically carved by, or arranged to be carved by Srila Rupa Goswami. And he was also given service by Rupa Goswami to read Rupa Goswami's literatures and to edit them. And he rendered menial service. This shows the importance of serving one's guru in a very menial way. Menial means like a humble way. So he accepted Rupa Goswami as his guru, and he thought, I have to defend my guru all the time. So what happened is that there was one person called Rupa Narayan who was going around challenging all the pundits and educated people everywhere. And he would challenge them to a debate, not to a physical fight. Okay. Shit, you can lock it. What's that? You leave it open? Oh, you have Kirtan Mela today. Okay. That's true, you don't have to lock it. So, okay. So wait till he finishes that. So Rupa Goswami engaged him in menial service, but there was this Rupa Narayan who was going around to challenge Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami thought, get rid of this guy. Okay, you won. Go ahead. Get out of here. And that's Vaishnava. He doesn't care, win or lose personally. He defends Krishna and other Vaishnavas, but not himself. That's important. That's a sign of a Brahmin. Just like when I use my own example. When I was young, we went to physical education class and we had wrestling. And someone said, and the teacher said, all right, when I count to 3, you wrestle with the person. And I said to the person, when he says 3, I'm going to fall on my back and you win. Because who cares? A Kshatriya has this in the mode of passion, I have to win, I have to be the best. But a Brahmin is, all right, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can be the best. I just want to chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So Rupa Goswami thought like that, and he just signed a certificate that this other guy, Rupa Narayan, had won. So Rupa Narayan went with the certificate, was waving it all around Vrindavan. Jiva Goswami got so upset and said, "Now I'm going to challenge you." And he challenged him, and he defeated the guy, and the guy had a call of nature. He had to go to the bathroom right out in the open. So Jiva Goswami goes back to Rupa, and he says, "I won." And Rupa Goswami says, "You're too proud. You don't belong in Vrindavan. Shouldn't be a sannyasi, so get out of here." So we kicked him out of Vrindavan, and Jiva Goswami lived in a tree for about a year, until Sanatana Goswami said to Rupa Goswami, "You have forgotten one of the main teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." And Rupa Goswami said, "What did I forget?" Finally he got to Jiva Doya, which means compassion for Jiva souls, but also means compassion for Jiva Goswami. So he understood, and Jiva Goswami was brought back. Jiva Goswami generally did not teach so much about conjugal love, or the unalloyed conjugal love between Krishna and the gopis. He taught that Krishna and the gopis were actually married, something called swakiya instead of parakiya, because his disciples were not that advanced. So this is very interesting, that sometimes one has to be careful what they talk about in terms of the levels of devotional service. So, another interesting story about Jiva Goswami is one time the favorable Mughal Emperor Akbar came to Vrindavan. And when he came to Vrindavan, Jiva Goswami met him, and in this place called Nidhi Ban, which means where Radha and Krishna rest at night, it's in Vrindavan, in the city of Vrindavan, he gave Akbar a vision. It's called the Spurti of Krishna's pastimes. That's interesting, isn't it? And then Akbar gave him money to construct temples in Vrindavan. So many of the temples in Vrindavan were constructed or paid for by Akbar. Later on, one of Akbar's descendants, Aurangzeb, tried to destroy these temples, particularly the Radha Govinda temple. He destroyed the top stories of the Radha Govinda temple. There's a whole story about that. So, and then Jiva Goswami one time was called to debate in Agra, which is more glorious, the Yamuna or the Ganges? So you Mayapur Vasis won't want to hear this story. So then Jiva Goswami proved that the Yamuna was more glorious than the Ganges. However, I'll explain something so you don't feel too bad. So, because Yamuna is the consort or the wife or girlfriend of Krishna, and so, wow. So what do you do if you're in Mayapur? Well, if you're in Mayapur, you get the Yamuna and Ganges. Because at the Triveni, the Saraswati, the Ganges, and the Yamuna, they all mix. So you're fine. I haven't offended you, right? So, very, very interesting. So anyway, the Yamuna won, and Akbar, another story about Akbar, this Mughal was going around hunting and killing animals, so he got Akbar to promise never to go hunting in Braj, to kill any animals in Braj. Jiva Goswami was famous because he taught Shaimananda, Narottam Das Thakur, and Srinivas Acharya. He wasn't their initiating guru, but he was their Shiksha guru. So he taught them the philosophy, and he facilitated them going and distributing the philosophy and the books of the Goswamis to Bengal and other places. So he was the one who first started, Jiva Goswami was the one who first started the Sankirtana movement, the book distribution movement. And of course, it was actually Srinivas Acharya who did it, Srinivas Acharya, Shyamananda, Narottam Das Thakur who did it. But it was Jiva Goswami's idea to go out and Sankirtan. See? So Drew, you're a follower of Jiva Goswami. Yeah.
Wow. What a benediction.
Yeah, so you should remember this. It was Jiva Goswami who started book distribution. He sent the first party out. And as far as the biography is concerned, he established the Radha Damodar temple with the deities that were given to him by Srila Rupa Goswami. And this Radha Damodar temple is so important because, not only because Jiva Goswami started it, but because His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada considered this his eternal headquarters. It's an eternal home. Like Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is my home. And Prabhupada's home is in the Radha Damodar temple. Interesting, isn't it? Prabhupada originally started living, I think it was the Radha Vamsi Vihari temple or something like that in Vrindavan. There's this small temple in an alleyway where Prabhupada stayed in first. But he established his permanent home in the Radha Damodar temple, and he instructed his disciples to care for his rooms there as a memorial. So and I'm going to end the class best by summarizing the Shat Sandarbhas. There's the Tattva Sandarbha, which I already talked about, which established how do you believe in or what do you believe in. There's the Bhagavad Sandarbha. They're all called Bhagavad Sandarbha. Tattva Sandarbha I described already. Let's see. Where's the other ones? The second Sandarbha is also called the Bhagavad Sandarbha. It draws a distinction between the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, describes the spiritual world, the mode of goodness, the deity worship, all the Lord's potencies. The third Sandarbha is called the Paramatma Sandarbha, and is a description of Paramatma, super soul, and how the super soul exists in everyone's heart, differences between the living entities, what Maya or the material world is, illusion, and what's called the theory of transformation. It's called Parinam, Shakti Parinam. I'm not going to get into it, it's very complex. Discussion of the Leela avatars, personality of Godhead with his 6 opulences. Fourth Sandarbha is called the Krishna Sandarbha, and in this Sandarbha, Krishna is proved to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. Describes all the avatars, Krishna's pastimes. Oops, I skipped here. Purusha avatars, Goloka Vrindavan, the coward boys, the Yadavas, Gokula, the queens of Dwarka, the gopis names, and Srimati Radharani is described in the Krishna Sandarbha. Beautiful. The fifth one is called the Bhakti Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, and this book is a discussion of devotional service and how to execute devotional service, how the self is manifest through bhakti, and a discussion of our ecstasy in Krishna consciousness, difference between a Bhagavad and an ordinary devotee. It's very, very wonderful books, important books for Vaishnavas. Discussion of Raganuga Bhakti, and a study of other perfectional stages of Krishna consciousness. And the sixth Sandarbha is called the Priti Sandarbha, and which is a thesis or a book about love of Godhead, and describes that by loving Krishna one becomes liberated and goes back to home, back to Godhead, and it talks about the liberated condition of the personalist versus the impersonalist, and loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and meeting the Supreme Lord face to face is the perfection of life, and the different rasas or tastes of relationships that one has in the spiritual world, and the mixing of the different rasas. Finally, the glories ends up with the glories of Srimati Radharani. Wow. So that, in a nutshell, is Srila Jiva Goswami. Let me just find the years. Oh, here he is. So he left this world in approximately 1513, and came into this world, in 1513, and left this world in 1598. So he lived a very, very long life. Some of the acharyas live very short lives. Even like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was only in this world for 64 years. And so, but he lived a very, very long life, and he was the last of the 6 Goswamis on this planet. So, any questions or comments about Jiva Goswami? Questions?
Jiva Goswami, he wrote one book, I think, on Sanskrit, I think Harinam Vyakarana.
Vyakarana, yeah.
Is that?
Harinam, yeah, Navamrita Vyakarana.
Sorry?
Navamrita Vyakarana, yeah.
Just like learning Sanskrit through the holy names. Is that available?
It is available. I haven't read it since I'm not really that
It is
expert.
available now, they already published in English.
Yeah.
That is originally is from Sanskrit, but it is published, the 2 volumes.
Yeah. Also, I left out the name of one of his very important books, which is called the Gopal Champu.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a whole narration on that, on the Gopal Champu, which is available, at least some of it's available on ISKCON Desire Tree. And the whole thing is available in SoundCloud. SoundCloud. Because probably none of you know what SoundCloud is. No. Anyway. You know what SoundCloud is. Okay, you have a question?
So does Jiva Goswami have more disciples? Like, I think I read one book of Rupa, and it said that he has like Srinivas, Narottam Thakur, like etc.
And Shaimananda, yeah.
Yeah. So they're like so they went to Vrindavan and learned from Jiva Goswami.
Yeah.
And now they went to Bengal to preach
Right.
all the books
Yeah.
printed in like from Jiva Goswami to so the devotees of Bengal can learn.
Yeah, that's right. So, of course, there's the famous story of Srinivas Acharya, how he went to Vana Vishnupura,
Yeah, that we lost.
and the king stole all the books, and finally the king surrendered to Srinivas Acharya, became his disciple. His name was Virham Vira.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very, very strong king,
Yeah.
heroic king. So, yeah. So Jiva Goswami had many more disciples, but they were the prominent ones, the most important ones. Those 3 personalities, the ones we read about. Very good. Any other questions about Jiva Goswami? No? At least I got a lot of people watching online, so it's good. Usually we get a lot of people watching online. So that keeps me encouraged, even if just one person stays and comes for class. Otherwise, I'd be speaking. I mean, you're all nice, but I mean, otherwise, I'd be thinking, oh my God. Yeah.
You know, the Relation gives Bhagavatam class, whether there's anybody there or not. He actually, even if nobody's there, he keeps giving class.
He's a real devotee. He understands Krishna's there.
Maybe, who knows, who else might be there. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's much more advanced than me. I'm just thinking, who's here?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Not particularly about Jiva Goswami, but Jimala Prabhu brought this up recently. Just like we know the verse that the Lord says that He who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not upon leaving the body take his birth again,
Yeah.
like this. But and there are also other similar statements like that. But also there's a lot more saying that, even if you have a tinge of material desire left, you're not making it. You have to become completely
Right.
pure. So these things seem to be opposed. What do you think?
Well, what Prabhupada explains, there's 2 different things. That even if you don't remember Krishna, Krishna will remember you. That's one thing. And then what happens is if you have even, let's say a tinge of material desire. I get a few tinges. So me and Drew have a lot of tinges. So even if you have a tinge of material desire, Krishna can take you to where his pastimes are taking place, and then the final purification can occur there. Pastimes in the material world. Prabhupada explains that I mean, actually, not just Prabhupada, but Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur explains that in terms of some of the gopis of Vrindavan who weren't completely purified, but they were stopped from seeing Krishna. It's there in the 10th canto. They were stopped from seeing Krishna by their husbands. And then that intense desire to be with Krishna was the final, and the impediment that they had from their husbands was the final, let's say, stage of purification, and they gave up their bodies materially attained. I mean, that's there in the 10th canto. So that's in the case of the gopis. Of course, not everybody's a gopi, but at the same time, we understand that you can go to where Krishna's pastimes are in the material world without being a pure devotee. I mean, there are living entities there who weren't pure devotees, who are with Krishna's pastimes, then they get fully purified. Or on the other hand, if you're not, if you have a lot of these little problems, then you can be a monkey or a pig in Vrindavan. And then next slide, Prabhupada says you go back to Godhead. Or, in the case, Bhagavad Gita, of course, teaches us that for those who are very advanced, you take birth in a family of Vaishnavas. And those who are a little advanced, they go to the heavenly planets and take birth in a rich family. So there's several different things that can happen. But if one's almost there, my understanding is that Krishna makes the arrangement for them to take birth where his pastimes are going on. So you get that final purification. Of course, even if you're fully pure, that's what happens when you leave the body, according to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
You go to where Krishna's pastimes are in the material world, and then you get, I guess, sort of trained up to go back to the spiritual world. Or if you're like Narada Muni, I mean, there's several different things that can happen. Or if you're like Narada Muni, you see Krishna once in this lifetime, and then next lifetime you just take a spiritual body and travel around preaching Krishna consciousness. So I would say there's a variety of things that could happen. But Prabhupada also said, when he was asked by a nervous devotee, he says, what if I can't remember Krishna at the time of death? Prabhupada answered, Krishna will remember you. So, yeah, of course you have the prayers of King Kulakshekara. You know, the prayers of King Kulakshekara who prays, let me die when I'm young, so the swan of my mind be absorbed, and so I'm not filled with mucus and everything. My voice is not choked up with mucus. So I guess it's too late for me. Because I'm definitely not young. Drew is still young. He's eternally youthful. Yeah.
Is it true that like, when Krishna descends appears for his pastimes, it's a combination of he brings many of his eternal associates with him, but at the same time, others are being promoted to that position. So they're coming from both ways.
Yeah. People are coming from both directions. Of course, as eternal associates, people like Mother Yashoda, they're always eternal associates.
Yeah.
You know, Srinivas Thakur, they're always eternal associates. Whereas, there's many. I mean, in next life we could actually meet Srinivas Thakur and somewhere in some material world. That would be exciting, isn't it? Meet Srinivas Thakur, Jagai Madai. You meet them every day. On Sankirtana, isn't it?
Some are like that, from that lineage, I'm sure, yeah.
Drew is following in the footsteps of Lord Nityananda.
Thank you for that, Maharaj.
Dina hina yata chilo harina mudarilo. Isn't it? Dina hina yata chilo harina mudarilo.
Translation.
Whether one is fallen or elevated, and once they take up the Harinam, they can come back to God and they get Krishna consciousness. Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi. Oh, my dear Lord Nityananda, you're filled with bliss, the most top bliss. But the problem is, I'm a Varo Dukhi, right? I'm miserable. So please fix me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So that's Krishna consciousness. Any other questions? These are good questions. Yes.
Jiva Goswami was very big scholar and pure devotee of Krishna. So I heard that when that time, somebody's like asked question about any philosophical pastime of Radha Krishna. So somebody is not able to give answer. So the Goswamis and Pandit they used to send to that people to Jiva Goswami, like.
Yeah.
So can you have that any pastimes?
I don't remember specific pastimes about that, but it is a fact that because Jiva Goswami was able to elaborate more precisely, having been trained by Madhusudana Vachaspati in not only Sanskrit but in Nyaya. Do you know what Nyaya is, right? Logic. Logic. Basically, in the West we call logic like A, therefore B, B, therefore C, but you can't turn it around. It's called a syllogism. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. So, Jiva Goswami was trained in Nyaya, is in addition to Sanskrit. So he was able to, let's say, understand people's word jugglery better than anyone else and able to deal and cut off people really quickly. So he was, anyway, most expert. Of course, all the Goswamis were expert because that's the sign of a Mahabhagavad, that Mahabhagavad is expert in philosophy, in the Vedic literatures. A Madhyamadikari has full faith, but he may not be so expert in the Vedic literatures. But an Uttamadikari, he definitely could defeat them. But Jiva Goswami was the most precise, having done the most research throughout all the Vedic literatures. And if you read his treatise on why we should consider Krishna to be the source of all incarnations, there's much more evidence provided than in any other literature that I've ever read. Because you'll have this argument, sometimes you'll have an argument with people from South India where they'll say, well, Vishnu, right? Vishnu is the source and Krishna is the expansion of Vishnu. You ever hear that? So, I don't argue with them because Vishnu and Krishna are the same person, just Advaita Chuta Nadiranatha Rupam, just in different manifestations. There's no difference. There's not two gods, as I was mentioning last night. But at the same time, you can hear from Jiva Goswami a argument or precisely definition, even more than an argument, why Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Not only that one verse we know from the Bhagavatam, Ete Changsa Kalakpunsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, but many other verses where he proves that. So anyway, Jiva Goswami, I'm sure Jiva Goswami was sent a lot of people who had doubts. And he worshipped Radha Damodar. You can go see Radha Damodar. Radha Damodar is in Karoli right now, I believe.
Jaipur. I think Madan Mohan is in Karoli.
Oh, that's right, Jaipur. Oh yeah, along with Radha Govinda, right, in Jaipur. Yeah, Rajasthan. Because all the, it's an interesting story is that all the deities, they were taken away because the Mughals were invaded. And the only original deity is Radharaman now in Vrindavan. All the rest are Pratibhu deities. The interesting thing is that originally the deities were taken from Vrindavan and taken to the Radhakund area. Then they were taken to, Karoli and to Rajasthan, different places in Rajasthan. Okay? Yes, true.
Yeah, I was just reading one book yesterday before I went out on Sankirtana, and Prabhupada said that even the super soul, even the Lord within the heart, he's dependent upon Bhagavan, upon Krishna. Prabhupada said.
Yeah.
You get, what I thought was a really cool.
I mean, it's really an interesting statement.
Yeah.
But that's Leela, because they are the same person. So there's that Leela. Like, for example, you have the Mahavishnu, the story in the Krishna book, in the 10th canto. Mahavishnu wanted to see Krishna. Remember the story?
Mm-hmm.
Mahavishnu arranged for the Brahmin's sons to be kidnapped. And Arjuna, he claimed that I'm going to defend the Brahmin's son. He wasn't able to do that. And Arjuna got ready to commit suicide. Then Krishna said, we're not going to allow you to commit suicide. We're going to go to find the Brahmin's sons. They went on Krishna's chariot, went past the coverings of the material world, and then they saw the Mahavishnu. The Mahavishnu said, yes, I stole these Brahmin's sons just so I wanted to see you.
And Krishna told Arjuna, this is what I was told.
Yeah.
Krishna told Arjuna, you Kshatriyas, you're always making promises you can't keep, and then I have to come and save you.
That's right. Yeah. In the Mahabharata, that happens quite a bit. When Arjuna vowed to kill Jayadrath, you know the story?
Yeah.
Arjuna was very upset with Jayadrath because Jayadrath had actually been responsible for the death of Abhimanyu, his son. So he said, I'm going to kill him the next day or else I'm going to enter the fire. So Krishna said to him, why you made this promise? And so the next day there's the battle, and of course they were protecting Jayadrath. There's no way Arjuna could have killed him. So Krishna arranged for apparently the sun to go down when it hadn't gone down. So they thought it was dusk. And then the Kurus thought, Jai, Arjuna's going to kill himself, Haribol. And they started dancing. Jayadrath came out, started dancing. And then Krishna said, okay, sun, come up again. So the sun came up, and Jayadrath was completely defenseless, and Arjuna took out his bow and arrow. And Krishna said, now's the time. And Arjuna cut his head off. Not only did he cut his head off, but he caused Jayadrath's head to fall into the lap of Jayadrath's father. Because Jayadrath's father had the benediction that whoever caused his son's head to fall to the ground would die, go in flames. So Krishna saved the scene so many times in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So the head went into the father's lap. The father died because he saw a head and he dropped it to the ground. Okay.
One quick last thing.
Yeah.
Just a note.
That's fine.
One time, I think it was a lecture, a tape or something, way back when, and Prabhupada said in Vrindavan, he said only maybe 200 people, he said, knew that Krishna was God.
God, yes, that's right.
Yeah. When he
But-
was, I guess, his Leela, the testimony of the planet.
That's true. But they actually love Krishna. The gopis didn't know that Krishna was God either. But they loved Krishna. Even when they saw God, who was Lord Vishnu, official God, they just said, you know the story? They said to Lord Vishnu, show us where Krishna is. Remember the story, the Chaturabhuj story? You know, Krishna put on extra 2 arms, and they said, oh, Lord Vishnu, please accept our obeisances, but please tell us where Krishna is gone. And then Radharani came, and Krishna couldn't keep the extra 2 arms, because he didn't have the power to bewilder her. So even God doesn't have the power, because Radharani is love.
Yes.
So on that happy note, all right, thank you all very much. I'll be back here Tuesday or early Wednesday, sometime next week. Or this week. Sunday already.
Yes, tomorrow Sunday.
Tomorrow's Sunday, yeah.